Today we're checking out this Mockins ATV utility trailer, and let me tell you, this thing's pretty sweet. So this thing came in 2 large boxes, and it was kind of like a long ongoing Christmas morning unpacking every piece. There's a lot of pieces, but it's pretty easy to put together. Right up front, I'll tell you the hardest thing to install was this lift right here, just because it's 4 super long bolts and you gotta sit there and crank them and kind of balance. Aside from that, it's a pretty easy assembly. It's gonna be easier if you have 2 people, but I was able to pull it off all by myself. So I'll break it down for you, starting at the front here. They include 2 different hitch attachments. My ATVs have a 2-inch ball, so I use this included coupler, but if you do have that other ATV setup where it's just a pin that goes through, they include that as well. If you're using the coupler, they include the chains that you attach on. The nice jack stand here is a great thing to have. I've got it on my other ATV trailer that I use to haul the machines. They're great. If you don't know how they work, you just twist this to raise and lower, and then you pull this pin, slide it down, and it will rotate for travel. Moving on down here, we've got this lever, which is a really cool feature. You just pull this back, it's on a spring, and you can tilt the whole trailer. Tilt trailers are so handy, whether you're loading up a wheelbarrow, a lawnmower, whatever, or just dumping stuff. You've got logs loaded up and you're just dumping them, or rocks or something. That's great. These rails are not bolted in or anything, they just sit in. So you can't use this as a handle to lift it up. I keep trying to do that, but you just gotta grab the actual rail here. So, pretty sweet so far. Next up, we've got the tires. They're pretty nice. I'd say they're kind of a nice average tire. They'll work for off-roading, it looks like, and just whatever your use is. Seems like an all good all-around tire. When you're installing these, just make sure that you're putting the pin through and bending it over, the cotter pin or whatever it's called. Otherwise, your tire's gonna be shooting off and rolling down a hill somewhere. So these side rails do come out. The back ones have 1 pin in it, which I'll show you in a second. So if you want it just as a minimal trailer, for whatever reason, you can take these out. It doesn't impede on the bed size, unless you've got something hanging out over the side or something like that. But you just slide them on in. So these 2 are pinned in. They include the pins. You just will rotate this little latch, and then I'm gonna put these back on here so I don't drop them somewhere. Just pop this out. You rotate this down, and I'm going to pop this back in, and then this gate comes down. It is a 2-part gate. You can have it like that. Be perfect for like pushing a lawnmower up in. I do have a little kid's ATV, and I was really hopeful that it would be the perfect size. It's the right length, but it's like 1 inch or 2 inches too narrow to fit the little kid's ATV. But I was like, oh, that'd be so fun. Drive that up in there. But yeah, this thing's pretty sweet. It's got a nice latch in here, so you just latch it, and it does stay up, but we're gonna hook it back in. There we go. So one thing that I've noticed, if you're moving it around by hand, it's so short, you can lift it like this, and that back gate will hit, and then if you pull it, it comes unlatched. So that's one thing to be aware of. It will come unlatched there. I mean, it's just gonna flop around, but you can't lift it too high, but really not too bad. So assembly went pretty smooth. Their instructions are very handy to use and very helpful. So it did take a while to get everything unpackaged and laid out, but from unboxing to completed assembly, I think it was about 1 hour 40, maybe right around 1.5 hours, but just figuring out by myself. You could knock that down a lot if you have 2 people working on it. It was just me. So a few things were tricky, like I had to flip this and that just so I could reach different bolts, and then balancing and putting stuff on myself. If I can do it, you probably can too. With that, let's load this thing up with like a mock camping trip. And this isn't a real camping trip. I'm gonna throw just random camping gear I have. So I'm not going on a backpacking trip hauling a cooler, but let's check this out. Backpack in here. Let's go on that side. Couple sleeping bags, sleeping mat, and a tent. Put that in first. Well, that didn't take up as much room as I thought. I've still got a good amount of space here, which is sweet. So one thing that I really love about the Mockins trailer is they actually include a full bed bungee net. So if you're doing something like this, you can cover up the whole thing. So let me untangle it a little bit. It's catching on itself, of course. That's probably guaranteed. This reminds me, when I was building this, I'm sure it was in the instructions somewhere. I believe it is required that you redo a couple steps and do them wrong the first time around. So don't fret if you're just like me. Let's see. I'm just gonna drape it on first and I'll start hooking it down. When you're using the net, don't hook, they don't say this, but don't hook to the rails because they're not bolted in like I was saying. Hook down on the actual wall. This is going on very easy so far. I don't have it packed too tight. I love that they include this net. That is awesome. So there we go. That net completely covers this whole setup, and I've got so much slack left that I could pack quite a lot more in here. All right, I'll go ahead and show you how easy this is to set up, and we'll take this for a test run. But first, I like that they have this pin attached on a little chain there. That's nice, so you're not going to drop that out in the woods somewhere and lose that. You got to make sure this is raised. If you're using the coupler, I'm going on a ball. If you've got the other attachment, you'll have your two plates attached. You'll line it up and drop a pin through, but mine is a regular ball. So this is a very light trailer and light load. Like, I can move it very easily. That was one-handed. But if you've got a heavy load, or if you are just unable to lift this, you can use this included jack. You're gonna raise it up above the ball here. In this case, I'm gonna just drag it forward just so we see how high we have to go. We're just gonna crank this up, and here in just a second it'll be high enough. There we go. Then you're gonna scoot it on over, and then you're gonna lower it onto your ball like a traditional trailer. Same thing. Okay, so now this thing is pretty loose. You'll pull this pin, flip that up out of the way. I'm just gonna lower it a little bit back to where it was, just for when we're done here. It's about there. Good. Okay, and then I'm gonna drop this down. Perfect. I'm gonna attach this pin so it won't fly off of there while we're going over some bumps. And then I do have the chain hookups on this machine, so I'm gonna include that. I have a little extra slack, so I'm going across, making an X pattern with the chains going to the opposite side, but I still have quite a bit of slack since it's not hooking up to a truck. So I'm just gonna twist the chain to get rid of the slack. And there we go. Now that's hanging there quite nicely. Let me show you this other one in contrast. You see how much lower this one is without twisting it? So any little bumps and stuff, that's gonna be smacking around. So I'm gonna twist this. I'm holding this up so I can see about how far. That looks pretty good. Okay, there we go. Let's take it for a spin. Just for fun, here it is next to my 14-foot ATV trailer. The camping gear went well, so let's try loading up some scrap wood. So in my short test, this thing has pulled really well. The tires have been great on the dirt road. The first incline I went on, you can't tell on camera, but it's probably an 8-foot rise from where I started to ended. The net is my favorite accessory. I think that thing is awesome. But one last accessory that they include is actually a cover. So these guys are just doing a great job throwing all the perks in that you'd want. The drop ramp, the jack stand, the mesh net cover, the solid cover. It tilts, like it's got really everything that you'd want. So whatever your situation is, whether it's on a farm, you're outdoors, hunting, camping, collecting wood, chopping down a tree somewhere, whatever it may be, you know your situation, but this thing has been awesome and I am excited to put it to some more use. So if you're interested, I'll drop a link for this down below and you can check it out for yourself. But thanks for watching.